they thought I was basically a fucking prize. I was a fucking ethnic prize, to say the least, which is, now I'm thinking about it, is fucking funny. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Wicked Podcast. Basically, this is the late night talk segment where I talk about random tidbits of news, interesting thoughts that I've had, and just differing opinions that I've just seen throughout the day. And I'm gonna start this off by saying it's been such a long time since I've done this. I think it's been actually close to a month since my last upload. I'm back now because I've just been doing some improvements to my setup, upgrading my gear, upgrading my tech, and I've started school too, so I'm gonna try and adapt to this cycle of just uploading videos more consistently. But with that out of the way, I want to jump into the two main conversations that I want to have in this video, which is the peak in anti-Asian crimes, like the hate crimes towards Asian people that has taken place recently. Excuse me. And racial identity with second generation people or second generation immigrants. That's I think it's something it's just something important to talk about. But let's start with the first thing, the hate crimes towards Asian people. If you don't know, I think about a week or so ago, there was an 84-year-old elderly Asian man that was attacked and killed by a group of black teens for what seems to be the pure fact that he was Asian, and it was just out of pure spite they decided to attack him, and during that attack he died. It happened in San Francisco, which is surprising because San Francisco has a high concentration of Asian people, but whatever, that doesn't change the fact that an 84-year-old man died for the simple fact of being Asian, which I think is fucking stupid. But because of those crimes happening, which is starting to happen more frequently since COVID happened, ever since COVID happened, a lot of Asian people has faced more and more openly fucking racist attacks towards them. And with that being said, these situations are raising some tension between the black community and the Asian community, specifically because some Asian influencers and some Asian people feel that the black community isn't there to support them, and some go as far as to say statements like, well, why aren't you guys supporting us? Why aren't you guys helping us getting the word out? We stood with you during BLM and this is what we get. And to me, I don't think it's something to be divisive about, because I think the black community still stands with the Asian community, and to go as far as to just call them out and pin each other, put each other against each other for that is just gonna it's not gonna help the situation at all. So to me, it just doesn't make sense for them to say that. But I can see where the whole discourse happens, even though it doesn't make any logical sense. But I've seen the most that I've seen is a lot of black creators siding with the Asian community and being empathetic towards it, and apologizing for this happening. And it comes also to the fact that you can't marginalize and judge a whole group of people based on a few's action, which is valid for any point. Same thing goes for the Asian community. You can't just judge a whole race of people just because of an action of a few. But that still doesn't mitigate the fucking tension that there's been, especially on TikTok, where a lot of Asian creators are putting this out and saying that racism towards Asian people is normalized, and nobody likes to speak about it because it's okay or whatever the fuck, which I think it's wrong. I don't think it's normalized. I just think it's not talked about. Not specifically for the fact that it's, crimes against Asian people, but more so of the fact that in Asian culture and black culture, being weak or having weakness, or any form of just like openness isn't shared upon, or isn't like looked well upon, where mental health isn't spoken about. Same thing goes for the Asian community. Being like mentally ill isn't something that you speak about. Being depressed isn't something that you speak about. So I think not only that, but Asian people suffer a lot in silence, where we've seen a lot of like Asian attacks, a lot of racism towards Asian people since the start of COVID, but you don't see them like going up in flames and whatever, even if sometimes it is called out. But now with the growing generation of Gen Z and growing Gen X generation getting access to fucking TikTok and platforms, you see it a lot more, where people speak about Asian culture being more open and calling out the racist shit that people do like this, where they just attack elderly people for no fucking reason, which is again despicable and disgusting. But I don't want that idea to be decisive, especially for me, where I can't actually choose a side and pick a side wholeheartedly, because I'm half black and half Asian, and the fact that I'm mixed just slapped me across the face, especially in this situation where if I say something for the black community, I'm gonna get pushed out because they're gonna see me as Asian also, and if I go and support the Asian community, I'm gonna get pushed out because they don't see me as black and whatever the fuck. And by the way, which is normal, it's not normal, but I'm used to it by now, because my opinion has been validated for the simple fact that I'm mixed too many times to fucking count. Not especially, but it happens mostly with black people, where they're gonna say some stupid shit like, if you're mixed, you don't count in this, you can't talk about black problems, when it's like, how okay, like, explain to me how I'm not able to talk about black problems if the color of my skin is darker than your light skins, and people treat me as black. I've had racism as a black person. I've been called the N-word by white people, and I'm half Haitian. How are you gonna tell me I'm not black? Same goes for the Asian community. A lot of them go like, aren't you black though? And it's like, yeah, the color of my skin is black, but that doesn't mean I'm not Asian. My mom is Asian. I've grown up with the Asian culture all around me. I've grown up with the Cambodian culture all around me. I've eaten Cambodian food since I was a baby. Like, how the fuck are you gonna tell me I'm not Asian just because I don't have the physical traits? I'm not Asian now? Is that it? And to me it seems fucked. But now with this like tension between both racial groups, I think people of my background and of my like, it's weird to say, but of my mixture, for better or worse, have an important stance on this. And I think we have an important opinion, and people who are mixed have a duty to talk about and share their opinions on this, even if people are gonna come for your fucking throat and say, well, you're not black enough to speak about this, or, well, you're not Asian enough to speak about this. And by the way, to specifically say, being pro-Asian is not being anti-black, and being pro-black is not being anti-Asian. Both are in fucking unity, okay? Both should fucking work together. Don't start this divisive bullshit that I've seen on TikTok, where, by the way, TikTok is just fucking stupid also, because a lot of those fucking creators do a video on the whim, on like straight up off the bat, purely off emotion, and then 5 minutes later, after getting destroyed, getting completely fucking pummeled in the comments for their stupid fucking opinions, they delete the video and act as if nothing happened. So don't fucking start this divisive shit where being pro-Asian is being anti-black. Nah, both are in unison, both work together, and being pro-black is not being anti-fucking white. Same goes for the pro-Asian is not being anti-white. It's just being pro-Asian and pro-black. Whatever. Stop fucking calling that bullshit. But with that out of the way, as I was saying about mixed people having an important stance, I want to talk about this problem. Well, not problem, just this experience that a lot of second generational immigrants and mixed people will have to fucking deal with, which is racial identity. Now, if you don't know what racial identity is, it's a simple concept. It's where, you're searching for your identity as a person of an ethnic group. For example, I'm gonna take the example from me. I'm half Haitian and half Cambodian, born in Montreal, which is predominantly French or English, whatever you prefer. And Montreal is inside of Quebec, which is Quebecers, and Quebec is inside of Canada, which is Canadian. Now, that all comes into play when people ask me where I'm from. And, people from Quebec, or, just most Quebecers are gonna go and, ask me, like, where are you from? And I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm from Quebec, or I'm from Montreal. And they're gonna be like, oh, but, where are you really from? And it's like, what the fuck do you mean where I'm really from? I just told you I'm from Quebec. But when they say that, they allude to the fucking color of my skin because they think I'm an immigrant. Or no, I was born here. I was born in fucking Montreal, fucking Canada. Whatever. I'm not a fucking immigrant, but I'm a second generation immigrant after my parents. And, being seen that way, it's like, okay, well, I have to say my ethnicity now because they don't take it as if I'm Canadian. I go, well, I'm from Quebec, but my parents are from da-da-da-da-da-da. And from there, they go, oh, okay, as if it's a fucking acceptable response. No, it's not. It's not, by the way. I didn't answer your question. I still have the same answer from the fucking first time that you asked me, but whatever. And that's from the white people, from the Quebecers who ask me that. But if I go towards my fucking dad's side, my Haitian people, they go and ask me, where are you from? And I go, oh, I'm Canadian. Now they can have two responses. They go, where are you really from? Like, what are you? And basically I have to say the same script that I said to the fucking Quebecer. Or they go like this, grisou. Which, if you don't know what it means in Creole, it basically means like I'm whitewashed, or like I'm not fully black. And I go, okay. And they don't think that I can understand the fucking Creole, or they don't think I can speak the native tongue, which I'm learning to, and I can't fully completely understand it. Thanks, Dad, by the way. Shout out to my dad for that. And there's few times that I do call them out on their bullshit, or I respond to them in Creole, or I tell them that I can understand, the face of shock that they have because they don't expect me, a mixed kid, to speak the native tongue of their country is priceless. Obviously, it's priceless because it's satisfying to me to show them to their face that it doesn't mean that I'm born here that I'm any less black, or it doesn't mean that I'm born here that I'm any less Asian. And let's go to the Asian side, the Cambodian side, to be specific, from my family. When they ask me where I'm from, and I tell them, I'm from Canada, I'm Canadian, but I'm half Cambodian. And they go, what? You're half Cambodian? No way. And I go, yes, I am half Cambodian. And I either have to prove it by, showing proof of, like, with the photo of my mom, or just talk about the fucking food and try and speak the small Cambodian that I know, which is basically amounts to just food, because that's all I learned as a child, because I was a fat ass. I only like to eat food, so I was just like, I know how to say rice in Cambodian, or like I know how to say fucking pork, whatever. By the way, I'm improving my Cambodian. I want to improve my Cambodian. Don't judge me on that. So, with those experiences in mind, I pretty much grew up with the idea that I'm not good enough as an Asian person or as a black person, and my racial identity is still vague. And growing up in Montreal, I grew up in a mixed school, Well, I started to grow up in a mixed school where you found everything and anything from Arabic to black to Latino, Mexican, Asian, whatever. You could find anything. And then my parents decided to, move out to a brand new neighborhood, which is obviously predominantly white. Awesome. And to say that I had a bad experience growing up would be a lie, or at least majority of it would be a lie, because arriving at that new school I was anxious, obviously, because it's a new school. But then seeing that there's nobody of my skin color and my race and ethnicity, well, it put me on edge. So I wasn't somebody who used to be social, and I didn't go out because, first of all, I didn't know the fucking surroundings, nor did I know any of the stores, and I just wasn't a person like that, wasn't social like that. So I didn't have the habit of going out. But then, as I grew up in this new school of mostly whites, they started treating me differently, and not all the time was it racist. Just most of the time they started putting me on a pedestal where, to them, they thought I was basically a fucking prize. I was a fucking ethnic prize, to say the least, which is, now thinking about it, is fucking funny. But I think about it a lot, and I think it's funny, and I also tell to myself that this low-key kind of fucked up. So basically what they did, they just saw me as a fucking ethnic prize, as I said earlier, where I must be good in sports because I'm black, so I must play fucking basketball on like a college level. I must be fucking athletic again because I'm black. I must be smart because I tell them all the time that I'm half Asian, so I must be fucking incredible in academic studies, and I was speaking fluent English at that age, such a young age, to the point where I could keep up with the professors. So they must have thought that like I was fucking like a master fucking linguist or whatever. And as growing up, they put me on a pedestal, and I had a big head, but I still try to fit in with the white kids, put on a fucking Quebec accent, try to take their lingo and, say the fucking usual words like big, bro, whatever. And then as I grew up and I tried to learn out of it, I went to high school, and after 2 to 3 years of high school, that's where I finally made my first group of friends, which were just ethnic group of people, like Mexicans, Latinos, Arabics, and Jamaicans, fucking Africans, and other Haitians. But at that point I felt good, and I felt like I was there. I could actually speak about my experience and my culture and whatever. But after meeting the other Haitian people, I started doubting myself, because meeting them really put the fucking nail in the coffin and made me realize that huge disconnect that I had with my culture, and at least my Haitian side, where they could speak where I could only speak a few words and understand, and they would talk about some stuff that I've never heard about and everything, and they would brag about it, they would put it a big air, and they would look at me as if I wasn't enough. And that really made me notice the huge disconnect that I had with my culture and my ethnic side and my ethnic roots. And it was hard to see, because a lot of them just tried to invalidate it as if I'm not just black enough, and that's how it made me feel. But then again, I decided from then on, I'm black. Even if you don't think that I am, and I'm Asian. If you don't see me that way, I am. If you don't take it that way, that's your problem. But I'm still gonna fucking learn about my culture and immerse myself in the culture to the point where I can just be what I am and be proud of it. So that's what I did. I learned about my Haitian culture, and I learned about my Asian culture too. I basked myself in my culture, and I wear it on my heart, I wear it on my sleeve, and I'm proud of it. And and people who look at me and think, oh, he's black, or they don't think that I'm Asian, but they think that I'm generally a random type of African or whatever. Just like the Haitians think that I'm not Haitian because I'm mixed. Just like the Asians think that I'm not Asian because I'm mixed. And it's just tough because recently I've also watched a video, Shoutout Aba and Preach, specifically Preach because he just made a mini documentary talking about the exact same thing. And in that documentary he made a point saying that as a black person, even if you don't want to, you carry the responsibility of upholding the image of every other black person or every other black teen. And when I saw that in the video, I wanted to refute it. I was mad and I was pissed because in my head it doesn't make sense. Why the fuck would I, myself, me, Ricky, would have to fucking uphold this image for every other black teen over there and not just for myself? I am my own person. I'm not just a black teen. But then again, if you take me and you put me in a room of just black people, I'm just another black person in the crowd. And I stopped and I finished watching the documentary, and I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, he's not wrong. That Preach is not wrong. He is not wrong. As a black person, I have the responsibility, even if I don't want to, I have the responsibility to uphold that image. Because let's say, for example, a black teen enters a store, okay? He enters the store and he shoplifts. And out of every other person who enters the store, it's only him. The shop owner isn't gonna think, well, it happens. We have stealers of all kinds. He's gonna look at that and he's gonna take the quickest description that he can. And that quick description is his color of his skin, the most defining feature. He's black. He hasn't spoken to him, but that's the first thing that he noticed. So after I enter the store, after that kid just stole, the shop owner is gonna look at me some type of way because now he has prejudice. He adapted to his situation and he has prejudice. Now, I'm not saying everybody has that, but I'm saying a lot of people have that automatically even if they don't know it. Now, being self-aware about it is awesome, and being able to change it is even better. But that's what he meant by having an image to uphold. And the idea that my actions as a black person can affect another black person after me, even after a long period of time, personally, I find it scary. Because you gotta think about it. That shit goes deep. That shit goes way back, way before me, way before us, way before my generation, way before my dad. And to think that my dad had to go through some shit like that bad, probably even worse, that shit's crazy to me. And I'm going through it right now, and the idea that my kid might go through that's even scarier. That shit's fucking, that's some food for thought. And same goes for Asian people. Same goes for, in my opinion, every ethnic group. Every ethnic group has a responsibility, whether they want to or not. They represent a part of their group, their ethnic group, whether they want to or not. It is what it is, and I think that's a fundamental fact. And what do you want me to do? You can't really argue with that, because if you're an Asian teen and you do something bad, the person in which you did the bad action towards is now going to have a smidgen, even if it is a tiny bit, of prejudice towards Asian people. Just okay, that's a dumb example, but I still want to fucking take it as an example. If you do want to discredit it, whatever. Just like the fucking astrology bitches, dude. They're gonna date one guy who's fucking Scorpio, and be like, well, see, I knew he would do that because he's a Scorpio, and all Scorpios are the same. Which, again, you shouldn't fucking marginalize a whole group because of the actions of one. But we all know astrology bitches are stupid anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it's not even a good argument, but whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. You get the point that I'm trying to make, the point that I'm trying to get across. So the fact that people that are mixed are going through that, and they have to deal with that idea and trying to deal with their own racial identity and conform to their own racial structures and hierarchy and whatever. And to me, I felt like I had to talk about it. I think that it's a reality that not a lot of people think about, but I do because I'm living through it right now as a person who's mixed. Just like I'm living through the fucking tension of Asians and blacks, just like I'm living through COVID, like all of y'all. I think I have a responsibility as somebody who's mixed to speak on those situations because I personally think that mixed people have a fucking different point of view. Honestly, I do. I really think that mixed people have a special point of view in these social situations where we have both worlds and both experiences, because somebody who's mixed white and black, an example, have like lighter skin, will be either seen as light skin or white, so they live life basically on easy mode. No, I don't mean to offend anybody, but that's the quickest way that I can explain it. So they live life on easy mode. They don't face the same consequences that darker skinned people or black people face, even though they are mixed black. And they can see the whole other side of like the white part of it, and then also see the black part of it because they're mixed. And the fact that some black people try and invalidate that opinion and that point of view specifically because they are mixed, to me is so dumb, because they actually bring a specific and special point of view that can help your argument, because they're not anti-black. And I've said this in the beginning of the video, where being anti-Asian and is just bad, but being pro-Asian is not being pro-black, and being pro-black is not being pro-Asian, just like being pro-Asian and being pro-black is not being anti-white. None of them are anti-white. They're just being pro a culture, pro an ethnic group that is suffering, pro a minority group. But to come back to what I was saying, where being mixed gives you a special point of view, I think it's something that we should cherish more. I think it's something that we should talk more about, especially because I think it'll bring a whole new view to these subjects, just like I did with this video where I'm talking about the Asian side and Asian culture, not in depth, which I can do if you guys